Now available in paperback and Kindle Unlimited. Isis, All That Glitters. The goddess next door takes on a bikini-clad bank robber in this action-packed, all-new Isis series adventure. Get Isis, All That Glitters in paperback and Kindle Unlimited today. As the publisher of SJS Direct, my mission is to create positive stories with black characters and give you a richer picture of the black experience and black culture in my stories. However, when I'm writing those stories, I don't really see color when I'm writing these stories, and it was a real surprise to me as I have been writing these stories over the last 15 years. Now, back in 2018, I noticed that when I was writing my stories that featured characters that were black, I wasn't really focusing on the color of the characters. No, I was focused more on the voice of the characters and making sure that the story fit within the plot points I was putting together. That's what my primary focus was as related to my storytelling. I really wasn't focused on trying to make sure that a character sounded black or so-called black enough. No, what my focus was making sure that this character's voice came to life and was able to tell the story that I was looking to tell featuring that character. That's what I was mainly focused on, and it's something that I really didn't think about until about 2018 when I was working on an Isis series story called Isis, All That Glitters. Now, when I was working on that story, that's when I realized that, hey, I'm not really focusing on the ethnicity or the color of the character. No, I'm just focused on telling the best story and telling the best story that allows the reader to see this character's personality, see this character's voice, see this character's motivation for what they're doing, and see who this character is as an individual person. That's what I was focusing on when I usually write stories, and I've been writing stories ever since I was 9 years old, and even back then I wasn't really focusing that heavily on the race of a character. Yes, I have made black characters like Isis, John Haynes, and Esteem, and Matilda Crowley, but I've also made white characters like Matilda's father or the villain Goldenshine. And again, I'm not really focused on the race of those characters when I get into the story. No, when I get into the story, I'm thinking more about how this character is going to sound as related to their voice. I'm thinking about what they're saying and as they're speaking in order to move the story forward as related to plot. I'm thinking about how this person talks as a person when I'm writing that person. And sometimes when I'm writing a character, like in the case of a character like Matilda Crowley, I kind of give her a kind of, California style voice where she's saying things like dude and stuff like that, even though she's from Harlem, New York. With a character like Isis, I'm more focused on making her somewhat snarky, or in the case of certain characters, I'll be using an actor's voice to see if I can get that character to sound like that actor. Like in the case of Matilda's father, I wanted the character of Jason Crowley to sound like Tommy Lee Jones, so I watched a lot of stuff with Tommy Lee Jones in it so I can get a sense of his speech pattern. And in the case of Isis's father, Osiris, I would watch a lot of Samuel L. Jackson to try to make the character sound like Samuel L. Jackson. Or in the case of Esteem, I would try to get the character to sound like actress Sally Richardson. I would try to make sure that you could hear this character's voice kind of come to life and be sound in a certain way by having a certain speech pattern. This is the stuff that I would be focused on when I'm writing stories. I want to immerse you into a world where you basically, again, hear these characters speaking in their own voices as they tell their part of the story. This is what I focus on when I'm writing characters. I'm not sitting there saying, hey, can I make this character black by saying, hey, they're going to go out here and do something like listen to rap music or do something like drink malt liquor. No, I'm not trying to use those things to make a character black, because to me, that doesn't really add depth or dimension. No, what adds depth and dimension to a character is them telling their own story in their own voice. What adds depth and dimension to a character is them speaking to the reader. What really adds depth and dimension to a character is this character letting us get to know them. And as we get to know them, we get to know what this character is about as the story is going on. These are the things that I focus on when I'm writing stories. And I've been writing stories for a good about 30 years, and again, never really thought about much about the color, even though, again, my mission was to write black characters in most of my stories. I usually, again, I do write black characters as the lead in my stories, but when I'm writing and I'm sitting there with my fingers to the keyboard, I'm not really focused too heavily on color. No, I want the color to come out in the person's voice. I want the color to come out in their personality. I want us to see that richer picture of who they are. I really want people to see this person as a person and what makes them unique. I want you to see what makes them the special as a lead character. And I don't really want to, again, focus. When I'm writing, I'm not focused too much on race. This is something that a lot of people think black writers like myself are focused on. I mean, I hear many of these, again, comics, YouTubers and stuff, when they talk about black characters. I remember watching one guy talk about, oh, the Milestone characters were blackety black. Again, I think his name was Diversity in Comics. He talked about blackety black characters, but that's not what Milestone was all about. No, Milestone was about showing you a richer picture of black life when Dwayne McDuffie was doing it, and showing you that we came from different walks of life. And it was about showing you a richer picture of black culture, and that's what I do here at SJS Direct. I focus on, again, showing you a larger world of black people. And in order for me to do that, again, I'm not really focused too heavy on color. I mean, yeah, I'll make a black character like a black goth, like a Matilda Crowley. I'll make a black character, a black goddess like Isis, and make the Egyptians black. But when I'm, again, got my fingers to the keyboard, I want you to hear certain voices. I want you to, again, be immersed in that world as related to things. And again, see that richer, more diverse picture of black life. See that richer, more diverse picture of black culture. See a larger picture than what's presented in the mainstream media as related to black people, where all they see us is as, again, loud baby mamas, in some cases, loud hood rats and thugs, and all sorts of gangsters. Again, they only have one picture of black people, which is the ghetto. And again, they're so focused on color that they give us the same characters over and over again, like in the Tyler Perry movies. Like in the Tyler Perry movies, we get to see the same stories over and over of abused black women that fit within a white supremacist narrative, and they'll say that they are about, again, showing us black life, but don't show us anything, again, that show us that richer picture, because they're so focused on color. And the same thing goes on with the comic book industry. The comic book industry, they talk about, oh, we want to create black characters, but when they create black characters as they're so-called, some call what they call woke, again, these are very shallow interpretations of black people, very shallow presentations of black people that are made to be what is acceptable as black on the outside to white people, but is not presenting you a balanced and humanized picture of black people, not really presenting you a balanced, humanized picture that shows you this person as a complete person. No, we don't really get to see that balanced and complete person in a story, because they'll do a comic like you'll have a guy like a Ta-Nehisi Coates do a book like Black Panther, and it'll be again focused on the shallower parts of what white individuals and racist individuals consider to be black, but won't be focused on showing us this character as a person, won't be focused on showing us this person's story as a person, because all they're focused is on color and they're not focused on character. Because a balanced person, when they're writing a story about a character, are more focused on character. This is something I have seen in really good balanced media like Disney's Gargoyles, where we saw the character of Elise Amaza, who was a biracial black woman, as she was interacting with the gargoyles. And again, that was a show that basically again showed us balance as related to the presentation of black people, and showed us balance as related to the presentation of people, because we're more focused on character and not really focused on color. That was one of my favorite shows, that one, and shows like Batman Beyond, where we had great characters like Max, who was a black character, but what made her interesting was that she was this smart girl who basically found out Terry McGinnis's identity and the great relationships that Terry had with Max and Bruce and all the characters. Again, when you have good storytelling, you're not focused on color, and you're focused on the characters, you're focused on the characters' motivations, you're focused on the characters' actions, you're focused on the characters' voices, you're inside of the world, you're with people who become like friends that you get close to. That's what is, again, what immerses you in that world. It immerses you in that world where you're hearing these characters' voices and it's coming to life. That was part of the fun of reading comic books when I was a kid, is, again, you can hear a voice that basically comes to life. I mean, that's what was fun when I was in 1992, when I was, again, watching the X-Men cartoon, and they got the voices. It just sounded like what was in my head. I mean, I remember, again, in 1992, they made Cyclops sound like the way Cyclops sounded in my head. Wolverine sounded like what I imagined he would sound like. Storm sounded what she would sound like, and Rogue and Gambit sounded just like I imagined. And again, that's what good storytelling is all about. Again, making that imagination come in people's minds, where they're saying, hey, I hear this voice, I hear this character. I mean, this character is so cool because of the things that they're doing. This is what, again, storytelling is, and it's something that writers like myself, we're mostly focused on when we're on point. When we're on point, yes, we'll create a black character, but when we create that black character, we want you to hear them as an individual person. We want you to hear them as an individual person when they're out here in these stories. We want you to listen to their mission, listen to them and what motivates them. That's what drives us to tell stories, and it was something I've done just basically all the time. But again, it just, when 2018, that's when they were talking about all this woke stuff, and I realized, that's not how I operate. No, when I operate and write a story like an Isis All That Glitters, or a John Haynes story, or a Spinsterella story, or a book like Eternal Night, I'm not really focused on the color of the characters. Yes, I may make a character to be a certain ethnicity, but the thing I'm focused on is their voice, their motivations, their personality. These are the things that make the content of their character and make them compelling characters outside of the color of their skin. Now, if you want to check out the stories of the SJS Direct Universe, such as the ISIS series, the Steam series, the John Haynes series, books like Eternal Night, and the books of the Spinsterella series, you can find all those books where I'm more focused on character than color on Amazon.com, and you can also find them at other online booksellers like Draft the Digital, Google Play, Barnes & Noble, and big box retailers like Walmart and Target. And there you will find a richer picture of black life and black culture in the stories of the SJS Direct universe, similar to what was presented by the late great Dwayne McDuffie in the Milestone universe. And you'll find all those great stories again on Amazon.com, and you can again be able to enjoy those stories at online booksellers all over the world. And if you want to see me be able to continue making great stories in the SJS Direct universe and making videos about writing and fantasy, you can drop a donation to the Patreon, the PayPal, or the Cash App so I can go out here and have the funds to be able to pay for book covers and hire comic artists to pay for those, to do those covers, and also hire artists to do the interiors on SJS Direct books, and also be able to take care of myself. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe. Now available in paperback and e-readers, John Haynes, A Thorn in My Side. The man who rules the world takes on an agent from the CIA from the Black Boule in this all-new John Haynes series adventure. Get your copy of John Haynes' A Thorn in My Side in paperback and e-readers at online booksellers everywhere. Coming to paperback and e-readers, The Steam Season of the Witch Girl. The aspiring angel takes on a wicked teenage witch in this action-packed, all-new Esteem series adventure. Pre-order your copy of Esteem Season of the Witch Girl at Amazon.com and other online booksellers. Now available in paperback and e-readers, Isis, Dark Incubus. The goddess next door gets enthralled in a romantic entanglement with an evil incubus in this all-new Isis series adventure. Get your copy of Isis Dark Incubus in paperback and e-readers today. Now available in paperback and e-readers, Esteem Horror in the Hamptons. The aspiring angel tries to escape a house of horrors in this action-packed, all-new Esteem series adventure. Get your copy of Esteem Horror in the Hamptons in paperback and e-readers at online booksellers everywhere. Support Black-owned and Black-operated digital broadcast media. www.niceradionetwork.com. Nice Radio Network, broadcasting 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.